Hey, yo, what up? Welcome back. This is not a podcast. It's just my thoughts with Rob Markman. Shout out to everybody who watches, who subscribed, who leaves comments, who likes, who does all of that. It all helps, man. I appreciate that y'all out here with me. I want to talk about hip hop media today. Can we talk about hip hop media today? All right, let's do it, man. I want to ask this question to y'all. And again, y'all know I'll be active in the comments, man. So I want to go back and forth with y'all. But what do y'all want from hip hop media? What do y'all value? What are the things that make you excited about this space? Because honestly, it's y'all who matter, right? It's the audience who really matters. We're here to serve an audience. I know I'm here to serve an audience. It's been a big topic with my friends, in my group chat. You know, with some of my friends, I have a group chat. People know this. I might have spoke about it before. Charlemagne wrote about it in his book, so we'll talk about it. I know they've talked about it on other podcasts or whatever. But I have a group chat with my man B Dot, my man Wayno, Charlemagne, and my man Kaz, and also Hovain was part of that group chat, man. Rest in peace to Hovain. But, you know, all friends in real life. We all work in media and music, and we all talk about it and support each other. And, you know, it's more than that. We're legitimately friends. So, you know, we talk about our lives, what's going on. But, of course, we talk about work. And it was a topic, too, last night with our monthly music club. Now, we have a monthly music club here on YouTube, all right, which you can join if you hit the link. If you're on desktop, if you hit the link right under the video, it says join. There's 2 tiers. On the monthly music club tier, the higher tier, we have our own Discord that we talk in all the time. And then every week we all jump on cam and pick one specific album to talk about. And then we put each other onto that album, and then we just kind of freestyle and talk about music, whatever's going on that week, whatever's going on in our lives. So it actually came up last night, and we do that every Sunday. So it came up last night in the monthly music club too. So it's been coming up in the group chat. It's been coming up in the monthly music club. And last night, the group, our monthly music club group, man, shout out to the whole fam. Who was there, man? Shout out, Quincy was there, RJ was there, Mike was there, Sean was there for a little bit, Lyndon was there for a little bit, Issa was there. Oh man, I know I'm missing somebody. If I'm missing somebody, blame it on the brain and not the heart. But that was the core of the group. I feel like I'm missing one person who was there last night. I'm sorry, man. Forgive me. But they had a lot of questions for me about my place in media, my legacy, where do I plan to go. It was a good convo. And then I just wanted to bring it here to see what y'all think. And it's even in the news cycle. 2 kind of things happened, right? First off, right off the bat, Akademiks TV, you know, that's the Twitter handle, the X handle that bears Akademiks' name. It's not run by Ak, but you know, everybody's been running around with these Mount Rushmore, man. They should have never gave y'all the Mount Rushmore AI. I've seen one for everything. I've seen one for 420 for the smokers. We've seen one for Southern rappers. I've seen Complex Sneakers do one for the Mount Rushmore Air Jordans, man. I seen one for porn stars. Like, it's just going crazy. But the Akademiks TV account posted a Mount Rushmore meme of the greatest independent hip hop journalists, and they had Ak on it. Of course they did. Joe Budden, DJ Vlad, Adam 22 from No Jumper, right? And I know a lot of folks don't rock with those guys. But you look at the numbers, and a ton of people do. They have huge audiences who rock with them and fuck with them. And so, you know, I just want to know what y'all think about that. You know what I'm saying? Because what I know as somebody who has been in this for 20 years, who has a legacy in this, an impact, classic interviews, I've built platforms. What I know is that the game has changed, right? And the fact of the matter is, we could talk about the game, how it used to be, or we could deal and adapt and change. The game has changed, right? Also in the news cycle, you know, it's a little inside baseball, but you know, these are for the folks who follow media. B Dot and Elliot Wilson are in the news cycle as well. B Dot went on the Joe Budden podcast and revealed that he and Elliot Wilson haven't spoken, and he says they were never really friends. And he blames Joe Budden for fueling what he called an unrecognizable persona with Elliot. Now, for those who don't know, B Dot and Elliot started the Rap Radar podcast. They did amazing work. They did classic interviews, Drake, Hove, Griselda interviews. They did one with Cole at Dreamville a couple of years ago, I believe. They got joints. Really good music journalism, not like a messy plate. Like there's no room for kind of other headlines or whatever. Like they really dive deep into the music, or they did. But so it sounds like their deal at, I believe, Interval was up. They had another deal on the table. B Dot liked the terms, Elliot didn't, and Rap Radar is dormant or completely over. I don't know. That's up for them to decide. It seems like they left the door open a crack, maybe to come back and do it. But right now, it's kind of in limbo. Elliot's doing the bigger picture with DJ Head and Jeremy Heck. Shout out to DJ Head. Shout out to Jeremy Heck. I know a lot of y'all watched that. A lot of y'all hit me in the comments. We'll talk about a certain topic. You'd be like, oh, yeah. So they talked about that in the bigger picture. So Elliot's doing the bigger picture. B Dot is doing his own thing. He has his own listed show where he makes lists every week. And you know, he just did an interview with Uncle Murda not too long ago that he produced himself. So, you know, between those two, I knew something wasn't right for a while. I know both of them in real life, and who knows what the future of Rap Radar holds. But for me, just the split of those two guys, and it all makes sense. I started with the Mount Rushmore, the Adam 22s, the Joe Buddens, the Akademiks, the DJ Vlads. The split of those two guys, and kind of what seems to be at the crux of maybe part of their disagreement, is which way does hip-hop journalism go? You know what I'm saying? B Dot is amazing at what he does and through his work, and I mean, knowing him, I know what he believes. B Dot is just a proponent for journalistic integrity. B Dot very much is rooted in tradition and carrying on tradition and doing things the way that he feels is the right way. He asks the questions. He doesn't really yearn to make himself a part of the story. He isn't out to make gotcha moments. He just wants to tell the stories in a fair and balanced way, and something that adds on to the record of how we talk about our music, and wants to hold it in a pristine light. You know what I'm saying? Like, not kind of in some, a lot of times it gets messy. Doesn't want the mess. Does a fair and balanced way. And I know this from him personally. Like, he hates things like asking the same questions every interview. Like, you'll know we'll get headlines, but you know, if you put him in front of 50 Cent, I don't think he's going to ask about Ja Rule. Like, how long, if you ask 50 about Ja, you know what you're going to get. If you ask Ja about 50, you know what you're going to get. B Dot is kind of like, dog, we did this. How do we move this forward? How do we build up this thing? And I respect that from him. You know what I'm saying? Me and B Dot both came from print. We started about the same exact time. And Elliot was older than us. I think Elliot had like 10 years on us already in the game by the time me and B Dot got in. But with somebody that we had looked up to and as an OG of sorts, and Elliot has always had a persona. If y'all read Double XL magazine, the YN column, the editor-in-chief's column in the beginning, he used his YN persona. So, you know, it was always a little wild, a little over the top. You know, I think some of that is what got him into whatever he got into with Benzino back in the day. He's always been kind of this competitive, over the top guy, but now looks to be adjusting to a changing game, right? He's a lot more controversial now. Because it's not about magazines, it's not about selling magazines anymore. It hasn't been about selling magazines in a long time. It's about getting clicks. So he's a lot more controversial now. He's throwing shots at Drake. He's getting into it with Nicki. Like, him and Bow Wow got in some. Him and Cameron like got in some. Very, very opinionated. And he's been mixing it up. And it feels like a new energy. Part of it feels familiar if you read those YN columns, but this feels like a new energy, right? Like, this is the way, and I can't speak for him outside looking in, seems like the way that he's adapting. I think this is what B Dot is talking about when he gets on Joe Budden's podcast and says this unrecognizable persona. I mean, look, me and Elliot even got into it publicly about a year and a half ago. Maybe almost coming up on 2 years for those of y'all who remember it. I got at him because he said something publicly about Sway that I just felt like wasn't fair to Sway. Sway is my OG. That's my big bro. I felt the way, and me and him publicly kind of, you know what I'm saying? I say all that to say he and I hashed that out behind the scenes, and we move forward. You know what I'm saying? But the crux of this is two different guys taking two different paths. So the question is, how do hip hop journalists adapt in 2025? Again, I go back to the Mount Rushmore that Akademiks TV put up. Like, Joe Budden, DJ Vlad, Adam 22 all kind of have like maybe a different approach, but similar in the ways that they are very much unfiltered, very much opinionated, strong in their opinions. Act, we've seen Act go at it with Meek Mill, go at it with Lil Baby, not afraid to be part of the story. And afraid is maybe the wrong word, but very much a part of it. Just personalities who come off, at least in Act's case, Joe is an ex-rapper who have ingrained themselves to be just as omnipresent, just as on the same tier as a lot of rappers. I'm trying to choose my words the right way to be fair about it, but Act is a whole thing within himself. And again, I know a lot of folks say, yo, we don't rock with these guys, we don't like this is not what we stand for. I hear a lot of that, especially in my comment section. But if you look at the numbers, a ton of people do. Like I said, a ton of people do. Media in 2025, I'm just saying all this to illustrate that it's changed drastically from where it started in 2004, from when I started in 2004. Like when I came in, there were a gang of talented writers, amazing writers, who wrote impactful stories. But as the game became more digital and it was less about writing this great 5-page piece and more about, yo, can you just get something up real quick on the internet? The skill set changed a little bit. A lot of people didn't adapt or didn't want to adapt. That wasn't the game that they wanted to play. Then video took over. There was this pivot years ago when they said, hey, people aren't reading as much anymore. And the pivot to video took over. And journalists like myself got in front of the camera. I didn't start out, I started getting in front of the camera when I was at MTV. And it wasn't something that, Sway helped me with that. But I came into MTV as a writer, and he said, nah, man, get in front of this camera. And, I'm glad he did. He showed me a new skill set, opened up a different side of myself. Not every one of those amazing writers that I spoke on that existed when I first came in the game could make the transition to camera, and a lot of them didn't want to. A lot of them resented that. Like, yo, I came in here to write. I didn't come in here to be the face of it, man. My pen is my superpower. But for whatever reason, they didn't make the transition. Then over the past several years, a shift began to happen, right? A lot of publishers and companies began divesting in journalism. So a lot of the places where we worked began, pulling budgets. And, like MTV News, I've talked about this before, took down all of their archives. So a lot of work that I've personally done and things that I was proud of don't exist on the internet anymore because MTV took it down, and MTV News. So this is decades and decades of work from brilliant people just taking off of the internet. The divestment comes, and coincidentally at the same time we have the rise of streamers. You know what I'm saying? Guys like Akademiks, guys like Kai Cenat, the rise of podcasts, the rise of rappers like Joe Budden, like Nori, like Gilly, starting their own podcasts and telling stories as they should, similar to why, you have Roy Jones and Lennox Lewis ringside commentating like boxing for Showtime. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a part of it that nobody could tell the story. Like you had to be in the ring to be able to really feel what's going on. So now we have the rise of podcasts, and we have rapper-led podcasts, rappers turning into journalists. And now you also have sports personalities weighing in on rap, the Shannon Sharps of the world, even the Stephen A. Smiths. Shannon Sharp all last year, the past 2 years, have been getting all the big interviews. They're going to Shannon Sharp. Artists are doing less and less interviews, and then the Drakes of the world, the Kendricks of the world, the Coles of the world, Travis's, Nicki's, the biggest artists, whoever they are doing less and less interviews. And when they are doing interviews, they're going to the biggest platforms. They might go to a Shannon Sharp before they go to a more traditional hip hop journalist. And again, the question is, what does that even mean in 2025? The fact of the matter is, you go to a Kai Cenat because he has the biggest audience. You know what I mean? Rappers used to go to XXL for the cover story or for whatever, just to be in XXL because of the circulation that it had, because of the audience that it commanded. Artists want to go where they can sit with somebody and spread their message to the widest. You know what I'm saying? I could do this one time and just hit a wide array of people. So you go to Kai Cenat to be seen. You know what I'm saying? You go to Kai Cenat to be heard because he has a big audience. Again, what is deemed as hip hop journalism or just music journalism, it's just changing, right? So the question is, how do you adapt? How do you remain relevant in the changing game, right? For Elliot, it seems as if he's becoming even more provocative than his YN column back in the day. But he has to define that for himself. I'm not going to sit here and ultimately it's on him to define on what his purpose is, what his goal is, how he's moving. But from the outside looking in, definitely seems to be more provocative, pushing the envelope more. But I think of me now I'm turning this on me, is how do I change? How do I adapt? Part of that is being here with y'all. This camera thing, this is new to me. This just talking to a camera in a room by myself, but I'm really talking to y'all. It's about a year old. How do I adapt? Being here with y'all consistently, turning up, but still making sure I do it with a sense of integrity that feels important to me. Like, integrity is relative. Like, what does integrity feel like to me? There's just certain things I won't do. For me, it's an interesting combo because, you know, I can't sit here also. One of my superpowers, a lot of y'all tell me how much y'all love my interviews. I can't sit here and wait for an artist to want to do an interview. Who knows when that's going to happen? For one, because I'm doing this indie. So also I'm handling all the production costs. So it's about treating this like a business, right? Can't spend more than you make, and that's just bad for business. But in special cases, I'll say that investment comes back to you in other ways. So sometimes, yeah, you spend money to make money. Like, that's not what I'm talking about. But building a model where your production level and the investment in your production is building your audience and coming back, right? And striking that balance and is growing, you know what I'm saying? Brick by brick. But, you know, it's tough to do that too if the biggest artists don't want to come and do an interview. I could get interviews with artists, but it's also like, what's that balance? Where do you come? And it's something that I have a plan for, and it's something that I'm working on, it's something that I'm growing. But again, I throw that question out there to y'all. The fact is that it's easier to sit here and talk about artists than to talk to artists. From an economical and business standpoint, it's cheaper. Like, Ak and Joe Budden, like, their models aren't built on doing interviews and talking to artists. They do it. You know what I'm saying? Joe definitely has interviews. He definitely has some artists come up to the pod, but he is not sitting there waiting for an artist to come. One mistake I made early in my career, I used to have this pod called The Red Light Special. And one of the hardest things about it was an R&B podcast. And I was like, great. And there wasn't any, like, R&B money wasn't out yet. Like, I don't know that there were very many R&B podcasts in the space. But my show was guest dependent every week. Man, you know how artists canceling? You know how many artists, like, you go to the studio, you got a plan, and then you find out last minute the artist cancels? Like, damn, what I'm going to do? One of my mistakes was making that show guest dependent. You know what I'm saying? Man, it's tough. So you can't sit here in 2025 and be guest dependent with this content. But I definitely have a vision for myself and how I'm going to grow and balance it all and remain myself in the process, but adapt in necessary ways. But I want to hear from y'all. What's the most important things to y'all when it comes to media? What do y'all look for in hip hop media? And you know, the answer may be more complicated. It might not be one or the other. It might be like, yo, man, I like a little Akademiks, you know, and to start my day, man, because it's funny and just kind of the chaotic nature of it all really gets me started. But then I like sobering thoughts at the end of the day, so I could fuck with a Rob Markman or something like that. I don't know. Doesn't have to be so cut and dry, but I really truly want to know, what do y'all want from media? Let's talk about it, all right? Peace.